right.
What's up?
What is up? Hello, everybody. It's Sunday night, and that means it is time for another episode of Explain Yourself. I'm here with my co-host Joey Galvez. Joey, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good. I'm here in the dark because it is no, just kidding. There's no reason for it because I just didn't want to turn on my lights. So
Okay,
I'm gonna be sitting here in the dark with you guys a little bit. So how's it going?
going good. Actually, that reminds me, we had a couple blackouts here, like 5 seconds or so
Oh,
earlier
really?
today. So you may see me go dark as well.
I hope not. I hope no. If so, we'll see you guys next
to
time.
carry
Man.
on without me, yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm doing good. It's been a crazy fun week. I mean, we're gearing up for Christmas here in the next couple days, weeks. Man, how you guys been? I know you just finished wrapping up some presents, didn't you?
I did. That was the first batch of presents is wrapped. We got to ship them all back to Ohio, so we're kind of just looking to get those out of the way as soon as possible, so we can have our living room back, which would be nice.
That's same thing here. We luckily we had sent all of our presents to Grandma's house, so that they're not here taking any room up. But so they're taking up Nana's house, so she has to deal with all that.
Yeah, that's what we're preparing to do. They're going to mom and dad's. We may actually just send them all to mom and dad and have them distribute them. So we'll see if we decide to go with that, or if we do the right thing and send them to everyone individually.
Yeah, there you go. Very, very cool, man. So what do we got this week?
So we have a great guest this week with a really cool comic called The Return of Jake Sunrise, named Dean Page. Dean, we're going to bring you in a second here. All right, and here we are, Dean Page. How's it going, man?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, it's good to meet you.
Yeah. So I saw the comic a few days ago and just thought it was really cool looking. Tell me a little bit about The Return of Jake Sunrise.
Well, The Return of Jake Sunrise is like a Weird West story, so it's not necessarily historically accurate, but sometimes it leans into like themes from history, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really kind of somewhat of an abstract horror story where it's not necessarily about fear or about terror. It just kind of incorporates those elements into kind of this dream world, sort of. Cool. And the main character is kind of mute, like he doesn't speak, not necessarily because he can't. Mm-hmm. And each issue is told sort of from the perspective of the people that he meets, since he doesn't speak. And cool. That's why each issue has a different artist.
Yeah, very cool. It has, to speak of the artwork, it's beautiful stuff. This was like, I thought like just really heads and shoulders above everything, a lot of other indie comics I see. So this was a really cool looking book to look at. I love your logo as well. That's something people kind of can skimp on a little bit sometimes, but that's a great logo too.
Thanks. That logo is actually from an artist that I'm working with on another story called Cosmo Natalia. Mm-hmm. And I met him just kind of, on Facebook, like looking around at different comic artists and stuff like that. And originally I had him, and he still is going to be drawing the 6th issue, mm-hmm. Which is the final in like the series. But then we started working on this other thing, and I was working on some different logos, and he was like, hey, let me give the logo a shot. And he just slapped that together and was like, what do you think? And I was just like, wow. And so, I mean, that's why I really encourage. I see a lot of guys out there who are comic writers or like aspiring to be and want to hook up with artists. And they're like, but I can't like afford to pay you. And like, I don't really think that's a good way to start out a relationship.
I just saw a post on one of my comics groups today saying like, if anyone wants to help to develop this like horror sci-fi book, I'm working on it now. I have literally no money, so it would just be half of the total, whatever money we make. I thought, wow, that's just. I appreciate, I guess, the honesty of this person, but the self-awareness was not there.
I mean, like, for me, I have a full-time job. I'm a school teacher, but I deliver pizzas at night and I teach guitar on the weekends to pay the artists. Mm-hmm. I do what I got to do to make sure that they get paid.
At least offer something, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you really believe in the product, like you get those second and third jobs, you get your money together, and like then you just figure, well, on the plus side, they're commissioned. So if this thing winds up blowing up, like I get most of it.
Yeah. I've seen artists get mad about that stuff, and I know that there's every deal is structured differently. I know there's been a lot of news, like with some of the artists that worked on like Invincible or Walking Dead, feeling like they were cheated out of something. I've always felt like, what their deal is obviously whatever it was. I think that when you look at the work for hire stuff, like I think a lot of people that are creating projects want it both ways. They want to like not pay as much and say, oh, it'll be kind of equity, but they actually don't want to share equity. They think, well, this was all my idea. And I think there's kind of, a disconnect there where people aren't really looking at like, hey, if this is work for hire, cool, but it's all theirs once I'm done with it. I think that's totally fair. And if somebody does want to take a chance on the book with a writer and say like, yeah, I'll just be in for 50% of the property, that's fair too. But people are not really good about signing contracts or putting that stuff out there in advance, and it always can cause some problems. So it's good when people have a plan to do that and don't let it roll down the hill until it's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, like, how you establish those relationships is important too. Like I think a lot of writers, they want to come into it like they're the boss, and I suppose when you're hiring work for hire, you sort of are.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like you don't necessarily have to act like it.
Yeah. Well,
and I think that's really important, and it winds up paying off down the road. It really does. Like you want to talk about like saving money. Like I think the artists that I work with, like I pay them what they ask for, but like sometimes they're just like, nah, it's cool. Cause like we do things back and forth. I do things for them for free. They do things for me for free. And like you establish a relationship of trust. And if you want to go the pro route, you can, but like, for me, the thing I really like about comics is that it's collaborative.
Yeah. And I think that's something different people have different methods. I mean, if I look at some of the scripts I've gotten as an artist, some people are just like, yeah. Other people have like, I've gotten one script that was literally a page and a half to describe, the first page. I'm like, oh my God, this is some Alan Moore stuff here. And it wasn't bad. It was just, that was their process. And then you get other ones that don't necessarily, I had some scripts years ago I got where like you could tell the writer kind of had a bit in their head, but it didn't make sense. It wouldn't work visually, or you had something that was kind of out of order, like, well, this would need to happen on the left side of the page at the beginning, but then at the right side of the page, the next panel, and it just doesn't happen. And I get that a lot with storyboards as well. So it's something where writers have a different process and artists have a different process. And the more people can communicate, and really the more people know more about what the other guy's doing and what their challenges are, the better that works. So
yeah, I think that's
definitely a way to look at it.
That communication is huge. And then like with that communication, like the ability to adapt, like I'm more on the flip side, but, and I totally agree. Just like with different movie directors, some are like super involved with every stage of the process. And, I'm more like, I like to find people that I really like and then just like say, what do you think? And kind of just let it happen and, do what I can along the way to help them, shine their skills. And for each issue, I'm working with the same crew except for the line artist. So it's the same letterer, the same colorist, the same flatter. The only thing different is the line artist for each issue. So hopefully that kind of gives it a sense of cohesiveness.
Yeah. I thought the colors on this were really nice. They had a good kind of an Alex Sinclair bit to them, like at least on the environments. The shading on the characters is a little more cell shaded, which is cool too. But I thought this was really professional stuff. And I've harped on this a few other times on our show, but so many indie comics have really good line art, and then the color is just like not quite there. And it's always nice when, that part of the process is there's time taken for it and you get somebody that's really going to do a good job. And I think in your case, because you're trying to create a little bit of continuity between story while changing artists, that's a really important thing to make sure it's shining and working well.
Yeah, I mean, I lucked out. This guy, Juan Manuel Gutierrez, he's from Argentina, and he's pretty awesome. Like, he is really fluid, and he adapts his style slightly for the different line art of each issue. Because this one, I mean, I don't know what style I would necessarily call Abrai's. He's also doing a book called Phelan Wood, which is
Mhm.
like a fantasy story, you know, like a medieval fantasy sort of story.
Oh, cool.
With a different writer, Ton Kramer. That's pretty awesome. I think it's coming out through Odyssey Comics.
Oh.
And yeah, Bray just has like this really unique style. I don't know what it is about this cover specifically, but it reminds me of what was that video game from the 80s where it was like a cartoon and you were a space ace, and then there was that
Oh yeah, and there was Dragon Age or Dragon
Lair.
Dragon Lair, yeah.
Dragon Lair, yeah. I don't
Blues.
know what it is about this, but it kind of reminds me of that with like the girl, and then like
Yeah.
she kind of looks, she has that ditzy look, but then
Mhm.
like her personality is totally kind of throughout the issue, she's not necessarily damsel in distress. Is the
Mhm.
best way to put it.
Yeah, I was kind of going through the pages, but I know there was some like distant nudity in a few panels. I didn't want to throw up on YouTube, so I went back. But
No, there's no nudity. I promise.
I thought I saw some. I think there were like some victims strung up somewhere, and I thought, oh, let's keep make a note of that. But I could be wrong.
I don't know if there's nudity. Yeah, because I don't know. It's something I'm cognizant of as a school teacher. Like if I do it, it's gonna a more like specific.
Mhm.
Cosmo and
Okay.
Natalia was sort of a play on that. That's kind of like a Barbarella style story.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, this one I really wanted it to be something that like was for like a lot of times I feel like comics are written for teens and like
Yeah,
kids,
I'd say
but
so.
then like adults read them. Whereas like I'd rather write something that's for adults that kids can read. You know, that's not necessarily like inappropriate for them to read. It's just they might not think it's as fun. It might not be as like glamorous. Although, you know, like this issue is about, I mean, each issue is sort of about kind of a cliche, superficial topic, right? Like this one's just about like cannibal mutant hillbillies, which I guess would be like Hills Have Eyes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then the second issue has sort of like a Frankenstein's monster. And the third issue has like a Sasquatch and a vampire circus.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then the fifth issue has like a poltergeist, like a haunted house. And the sixth issue has like witches and stuff like that.
Wow. Cool. Very cool. So you have this up on Global Comics. Did you do a Kickstarter for this? What's been kind of your approach to getting this out there? Did you go straight to Global Comics? Did you work with a publisher? Did you crowdfund? Like kind of how did you get started with this?
Well, I did Kickstarter for this one, and then for the second one, I tried doing one for the third and fourth, and it didn't go. But like, you know, the first one's always going to be the most successful when you do like a Kickstarter sort of thing.
Mhm.
And a lot of it's about like getting out there and people seeing it, right? If they don't know it's there, it's hard for them to, you know, want to contribute, and that's the hardest part. But I mean, for me, I'm more trying to get into like stores and cons and stuff like that, or like selling direct eventually, setting up a website. So for me, I more looked at Kickstarters as like a way to subsidize it, and also to motivate me to give myself like deadlines. So I could be like, nah, man, you got to have it done by this arbitrary date, right? Like if you set up a Kickstarter, it's pretty good at motivating you to like get it all together.
Make sure you fulfill and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you start to do cool merch. Like I did like belt buckles, like this of the logo.
Oh, cool.
These ones I think are like super awesome. I love these things.
Well, that's fantastic, and that's the stuff. Let's talk a little bit about that because you know we're on the marketing side of things, right? Ben's been doing this for what 20 something years, 20 plus years. Ben,
yeah, it's getting up there now.
Yeah, so we're in the marketing side of things. So I love talking about this because right. Comic books is just one side of this thing, right? The story is one side of this. You want to create a brand, and I want to talk to you a little bit about how you brand. Let's talk a little bit more about the different things because I know something like a belt buckle. That's kind of a big undertaking to mass produce or something like that. So how do you approach these different things and these different price points and ways that you are going to market your work?
Well, I mean, I think I lucked out with the logo. It came out so cool. I was just like, oh man, I got to use that now. And Randy Nunley, he's the guy who did that and did Cosmo Natalia. He also did the you know, like little mini busts that we have. This is the mini bust. He designed this as well too. This is just one of the prototypes. because I was trying to figure out how do I secure it so that when it ships, it gets there safely. And that's another part of the whole like production process, right? Like figuring out how do I get it to the customer in one piece.
How to market your brand, how to market the different ideas that you have, and something like that, right? How do you shorten that margin, right? Where you are so that you're not hemorrhaging money.
You'd have, if you want to get, it depends on like what your goals are and I guess what your financial situation is, because what you really got to do if you want to have like a good price point is mass produce, but then you need more money up front. And unless your name's already sort of out there, like a lot of the ones that blow up are already people who like either have done comics before, or maybe they have a popular YouTube channel. I've seen ones where it's like some DJ in Europe and then he puts up a Kickstarter for a comic and it just like explodes. Or like Jonah Reeves did one, right? And Wesley Snipes, stuff like that.
We're not going to talk about those comics because,
but it's like, unless you have a following, people aren't really going to know it exists.
CJ Hudson in the house talking about another Kickstarter All-Star.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, so like that's the hard part about trying to do it on Kickstarter. Like, I don't necessarily know that Kickstarter is going to be the best way forward if people are trying to come up from nothing. If you're trying to come up from just like making a comic, I don't know if Kickstarter is necessarily your best way to go. I think there's too many
right now what we have is Kickstarter is the best place, I feel, in my own opinion. I have been involved in 26 campaigns that were not mine. Only none of them were actually mine. And I helped them market and all that stuff. We can talk about all that later, but 26 campaigns. And I've come to the realization that Kickstarter is one of the best places for you because they have all the tools. Number one, they were here first, right? Because they were first, they made a foundation for themselves. So it's a little hard to shake that foundation a little bit, but every single day we have people who are shaking up these foundations. You have people like Zoop, like Ben's been using Zoop,
right?
And he likes Zoop a lot, and he's going to continue to use it because they took over and handled a huge part of the things that he was having a headache about, marketing and building the campaign and thinking about all the price points and all that stuff, right? So that's the stuff that kind of gives people headaches sometimes, right? And but you also have things like the Comics One app, that the Comics.one app that we're going to be we're going to be working with our buddy who is based out of Australia, and we're going to be doing a soft launch for his brand new crowdfunding website. We're going to do one campaign, see how it goes. We're helping him with promotion. We're going to help him build the campaign out, and what's cool about his place is not only does he have a crowdfunding space for you to sell your books just like Kickstarter would, but he also has a marketplace, and now you can also upsell and sell your backstock right then and there to people, live. You can also, it also has a social media side of things. So now you don't have to leave that site to target the people that you want. You can stay there on that site, and they don't have to leave that site either to purchase anything from you. So it's like all these ideas that people have, and they're creating these different things, and not one thing is perfect, right? But right now, I think we're because people are still trying to kind of work those kinks out. Right now, Kickstarter, I feel like, has the most of every tool that people can, use that is, solidified and set in stone that this works. It's been working for years.
Well, and it's super simple to set up, and I think like a lot of people fresh out the gate, like they might think, well, shit, this is going to cost me like $3 or $4 grand. So I'm going to set my like goal at $3 or $4 grand. Right. And like, I wouldn't recommend that at all. I think that's like the worst thing you could do if it's your first one and like you don't necessarily have a following. So then like I would say what you got to do is put in like the extra work, like I have a little bit of downtime at the end of this month because I'm a teacher. So I'm going to be looking at like setting up an Indiegogo because, like there's not necessarily mutual exclusivity through these things. So you can do a Kickstarter and you could do an Indiegogo, and you could even like experiment with, well, what are you doing that's different? Like maybe you do a pack of 3 instead of just individuals when you do Indiegogo, and just do those every 3 instead of every single one, and then mix it up and see which ones work best for you. And kind of, because I don't necessarily think that a lot of people, when they make a comic book, that they're not planning on making to sell. Do you know what I mean? It's just an idea they have. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it's not something they're trying to sell, it's more just an idea in their head. They're not thinking of who their target audience is. Like, that's not a thought in their head. They're just like, this is the story I have. And
that's I think fine too. I think there's a lot of
people, they are. Even if you did, you might not be able to find them. So I think that's why it's important to like try like Zoop and try Kickstarter and kind of move around. I think Kickstarter is the first thing because it's so easy to set up. It was just like, it's so easy to find that like drop down page, and looking at other people's really gives you a nice template.
CJ Hudson says Kickstarter has a built-in audience of people that just go there to look for comics without even specifically looking for something that isn't as prevalent on other crowdfunding platforms.
That's what I was going to say. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and then I would even say, people go specifically to Kickstarter because it's a lot of the times it's what they know, right? I'm a little afraid to go and put some of my money over to the other places because I don't know it and I'm not familiar with it, right?
I think that's what it is for a lot of people, right? They just don't want to, and they don't want to have to bother to set.
It's an extra step too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you,
extra step.
Yeah, and there are good reasons to go to other places. I mean, what I love that Indiegogo lets you like kind of keep a campaign open after the campaign's like finished.
That's what I'm
because I think there's a good experience there as far as like hopefully working with your audience to bring more people in. I think that's a great feature. I think Zoop has great features for somebody like me that does everything themselves. But I think everything does kind of orbit around Kickstarter right now, just because there are people there. That's where like the foot traffic is, so to speak. And there's I think you have to have a good reason to go somewhere else, and that comes from thinking about what you're trying to do and what kind of experience you can offer. And to get back to what you were just saying, Dean, about some people just have this like idea, but they're not thinking about the audience. They're not thinking about, I guess, how it would be cool for a reader to consume that idea. I think that's true. I think you do need both. You can't really just start off thinking, what do people want? All right, let me do that. But you do need to, once you have I think you kind of have to start with your idea that's for you, but you have to step back at some point after that and being like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to get out of doing it.
Yeah.
But then I got to think of like what offerings are going to, at every step, be that the cover art, be that the story, be like when things happen in the story, and certainly also how you're presenting the whole thing, whether that's a trailer, whether it's just post on Twitter. You got to really look at it. Once you've made your decision to do that story, you've got to really put on your other hat and say, all right, what's going to bring people in? What do people like? Do people that fits with my story? If this is a story that has some similarities to something that's popular, I'm going to find a cool way to bring that in. And try to make sure that I'm not just making it for myself. Because I think you're right. I see a lot of stuff that is like very, very made just for themselves. And sometimes that works. And
that's
sometimes
fine.
It doesn't.
And then that's fine, right? Those are those ones like we recently worked with somebody who had the passion to do this artwork. And those people who do that, I love them because they're the type of people that are not going to stop. Right, they're going to continue to create whatever and whenever they're going to create it, and I love that. Continue to do that because we need that in this world. I want to go to here because I agree with the Batman nerd says the independent comic book industry is booming because of crowdfunding. I think I'd have to agree with this because I backed a few Kickstarters like back in the day. It was like, I wanted to say back in the day, it was probably like 8 years ago. It's not that back in there, but crowdfunding. If you're thinking about crowdfunding, it kind of is back in the day because of how this medium, especially crowdfunding on Kickstarter, is this crazy thing that just it's always moving and it's never the same, and so what worked 2 years ago probably doesn't work now. What's working now is probably not going to work 2 years from now, right? So it's like always this crazy thing that Kickstarter, this crowdfunding space is, right? So I think what I'm getting at here is back then, it was was great, but the direct market was kind of pushing forward the independent space, right? Just maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a year before the pandemic, indie comics in the direct market were huge, and they were booming, and they were going crazy. Right, it was getting every single week. You had at least 4 or 5 small indie publishers in the DM that were dropping some gems, man. And you don't get that. We don't have that now. DM where you have 5 small indie publishers dropping gems. We have maybe 2 or 3 every so often, because the gems are dropping onto the crowdfunding space.
I agree. Yeah,
it's nuts, and I love it, and it's because I think because of the direct market and how it's changing, and how the not only is the direct market a big part of how we get the books out to the people out there, but it's also the relationships that we have with the LCS, right? Because if we don't have that relationship with that LCS, they might think that we don't care about our comics. So make sure that we're creating these relationships with them, because ultimately they're the people that are going into there. They are the face that people are seeing when they're going to the shelves, and they are the ones that are speaking and saying, "Hey, this is the book you need to grab," right? So we need to somehow, some way, bridge that gap. And win them over somehow. And I think if we continue to do great things in this industry with this medium and continue to put out beautiful art just like this, I think we can do that.
Yeah, I know. I know one thing with like the local comic stores is like I haven't started that yet, because I know that one thing that's important is to have like dependability of release, right? Like your release schedule. It's got to be steady. And so I wanted to make sure I have like, a batch of them before I release to local comic stores, so that way I can pace it and space them out, rather than like being nervous that the next one's not going to be done in time, So that's why I'm waiting I have 3 and 4 almost done, and they should be like, hopefully I'll have them printed by January. And then I'm going to start hitting the comic stores with this one, which is the first one. And then that way, hopefully I can do like a quarterly release, and then hopefully by like 2026, release like the graphic novel in stores, like the collection of all 6. Because that's the thing too, if you're selling in stores nowadays, is a lot of people want to buy graphic novels.
Yeah. It's really good to kind of to think about this too in the crowdfunding spaces, to create this this sales funnel, right? And it's, if you can catch on to it, you can continue to keep it going, and you can start a really nice release date, the release schedule, right? Give yourself a release schedule just like anybody else would, and make sure that you are growing your base every single time that you are doing so. This in between the Kickstarters, you don't want to just put your head down and work, right? We want you to do that. We want you to do that, but make sure that your head is still popping up every once in a while in that social media space.
That is so important to point out, because that happens to me all the time. Like you're just focused on like making it, like actually making the thing, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm not out there promoting it. Like I haven't done anything in like 3 weeks. Like I gotta tell
3 weeks is like 3 decades on social media. Seriously, people will forget about you. CJ, crowdfunding is saving indie comics. Direct market sales are now on average selling under 1,000 units for issue 1.
And I agree with that. And this piggybacks something on to kind of respond to something you said earlier, Dean, about you kind of didn't know that Kickstarter was like the best way to go for a creator that didn't have an audience. But I kind of found the opposite was true. I had been really struggling to find an audience and find a publisher for years on end, sending out pitches, never hearing back, and really banging my head against the wall. What really made the difference for me was getting that first Kickstarter out there. And that was what built momentum for me. And I think that really is, I don't think I could have built that momentum had that book just gone out to shops, depending on when it happened. It could have, maybe if it was 2019, that might have worked out. But I think nowadays it lets people, it gives you just a little bit of seed money. And you said you were kind of using this to subsidize the production a little bit. I think that not that anybody's getting like buckets of money on their first book if they're coming out there without an audience, but it just gives you a little bit that you can kind of justify doing it, especially if you're I'm an artist, so it's a real time investment when you put something like this together. And just to have a little bit coming in there, it makes it easier. You're not just like throwing this out into the void and hoping something comes back. You can kind of get a response. And I think even to speak to going to shops eventually, I know some shops really don't like it when it's like this book has been on Kickstarter, people already have it. But I think the corollary to that is, hey, this was out in kind of a free market and it did really well.
Right, people bought it.
People liked this, and it's worth noticing. So I think
that's, if anything, that it gives them numbers to look at for the ROI, right? You're like, here, I've done the work for you. I've already done the market research for you. I've already done this. I've tested this small pool, because guess what? Kickstarter's still just a small pool. Crowdfunding is still small pool, right? It's not when I hear this from LCS and DM pubs and stuff like that, I'm just like, are you guys insane? That's not true, because this space is just a small fraction of this of what we can actually reach. And you guys, and it's BS when I hear him say that, because number one, here's the thing that can happen, right? We can literally talk. If I got in front of a publisher and I said, listen, if you guys got together with each and one of these Kickstarters, really like it, let's say you got a really great book you want on your hands and you want to publish this thing, but you're kind of discouraged that it is in the crowdfunding space, or it's going to be. How about, instead of doing that, how about you piggyback on the printing with them, right? Go into a partnership, let them print the crowdfunder the covers, right? Then here you go. Here's your investment. Pay for your own covers, and then or have them, or whatever you want to work out there, have new covers for the direct market side, and then have them continue to do things. Maybe they don't go forward with the next issue on Kickstarter, because now you can finish it out in the direct market and then throw a graphic novel on Kickstarter and then partner with them with your branding on it. Like, and then what you can also do is print at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Now you piggyback on the printing, print at the same time, print your Kickstarter books and your DM books, and now all the printing's done, right? You've done, you're already done there. So
especially when that can get you above that threshold where you're getting breaks on your printing, and it I think that I can definitely see, like, the people that bought this book already bought it. It makes sense. I don't completely agree. I don't agree at all, actually. But I think if anything, you're looking at something. It's like, hey, this was up against 20 other things, and people stopped and looked at this and supported it, and not something else.
Yeah,
I think that's the end of the day takeaway. And I agree completely when you look at the opportunities there are for these people to work together, get those costs down, and get, that's distribution's a little tough. I don't know what specific cooperation might make sense there, but for printing, goodness, absolutely. And CJ just wrote direct market seems to respond better if you give them something unique after the Kickstarter, like a new cover. Make the direct market a different experience. And and it should be, and it is. I mean,
I would even say this. I would say this is, make the crowdfunding space a different experience, right? Make that experience a lot more interactive. Bring people into it. Give them better rewards. Give them, if you are planning, if let's say your book is picked up already by a publisher, right? You want to create a different experience, then give the Kickstarter space a premium book, right? Maybe whatever that means, give them a premium book, and then go push out your regular issues over here. Maybe they got some really good, maybe you have some really great back matter with the direct market stuff, but the premium stuff on the Kickstarter, right? Now you have two different things. Now you can show them, hey guys, this actually does really good with some premium options as well, right? So all these numbers are great. They all this stuff, it just works for numbers, so that you can show them, look at, guys, the market here is here. People want this. People want this stuff. And they're going to continue to wanting it from me. Are you going to take the investment? And I think that's what it is now. Publishers don't want to acknowledge that the industry is moving over them. and they don't want to see that now they actually have to make an investment in each of their creators now. And
Right.
before they didn't have to make much of an investment
They have
because
they have to justify their cut.
because they were the investment, right? We were taking the we were investing in the direct market. We were investing in the publisher. Now the market's changed, and I feel, in my opinion, the industry's completely flipped where we're the investment now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that like even like the big name artists are going over to Kickstarter now, almost like back in the 90s they were going over to Image, because it's like Kickstarter wants less of a cut than these publishers.
It's not even close. I mean, it's unreal.
And then stores also get a cut too, right? So I mean, you think about that cut, and then if you're going through a distributor like Diamond, then they get a cut too.
You know what that means? That's right. That is right. That's the middleman. We cut out the middleman.
Right.
We don't need the middleman anymore, right? Because we are going to the direct to we're not direct market, but we are direct to consumer.
Right. And I mean, I totally appreciate the job of distributors and the job of like organizers and who do all that stuff. But like now they're going to have to start justifying their cut, because
because we can do it ourselves now.
Yep. And if you can't justify like what you can bring to the table, and also you're going to have to get a smaller cut than they did back in the day. Yeah. Like that's not going to be the point of order moving forward.
Yeah. Or just do a better job. I mean, if you look at, I see so many retailers on YouTube, and then the first thing is like, here's all the damaged books I got this week. Like, oh my God, dude. That's
Listen,
how does that happen?
I know a printer who takes better care of the books that he ships out after he prints them, and that better than the distributors do. So
he ships direct to consumer.
I know, because this is what we do, man. We have resources. We made ourselves to where we have all these different resources for creators. That's why we are called the Geek Collective. That's why we do all this stuff. That's why he's a 21-year vet, and I'm not that much of a vet, but I know a little bit of my things because I am in advertising as well. So we kind of both have that background, and we just took what we know here and kind of just we were already incorporating it into, the crowdfunding space and selling our own stuff. So now we're doing this stuff for others as well. We just helped finish one for Kickstarter for Brian Hawkins. We did there's all kinds of stuff that we do.
What was the book?
Cars just finished up. He's got so many crazy things. He's doing the stuff breakneck speed, and he's like I just want a quick $3, $4, $5 grand, and let's move these things out, because he's got plans for them. So you guys, Brian Hawkins got a crazy schedule for the next 3 years. Seriously. And there's some of the guys that are like that. We have people who really plan this stuff out.
Yeah, this is a good one.
He's got
a lot more ready to go too. He's got like 3 books done, right?
3 or 4 books done.
Yeah,
he's got a whole plan for them. Like it's nuts, man. And that's just that's just on his own thing, right? Okay, we got the Batman nerd. We have publishers hardly offer page rates and want to own most of your IP. Now with Kickstarter, we show them we don't need them; they need us. And then he talks about don't push the red button. Can't wait for that, because we just finished a campaign that we did through our own page for a bunch of really cool creators who curated it and stuff. And it was an anthology with over 30 plus creators, 11 different stories about would you push a red button if somebody was offering it to you? But the catch is somebody close to you might die. So that one is gonna be, we're gonna be fulfilling that one hopefully in the it looks like schedules are doing really good. We're on the email chains. We got to give you guys a quick update because there's some emails and stuff that we've been looking at. The schedule is looking to be, we're on schedule. We might even be, fingers crossed, if everybody sticks to their schedules that they're saying they are, we could be a little bit earlier. So let's fingers crossed on that one, but it's going to be a really, really cool looking book. Very cool. Geek Collective, me and Ben are going to be designing that book for you guys. So it's going to be a really beautiful experience.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to get a hold of that and start putting that one together because it's a cool idea for an anthology. It's got a good flow to it. It's not just like here's one, here's the other. So I think that one's gonna be special. I think people are gonna really enjoy it.
It's gonna be really cool. Ben is gonna get to have some fun with filling out some pages.
Oh yeah,
really cool. Yeah.
Get the graphic designs going.
Yeah, very very cool.
That one seems like it would be something right alongside Love. Was that show Love, Death, and Robots?
Yeah,
it does Black Mirror, that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. Black Mirror. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I don't like to think about Black Mirror though. That show traumatized me.
It can be pretty depressing.
Robots is a little more tame, like.
And some of those shows, man, are scary.
I will say Black Mirror I've held off watching because I'm just like, I've had a pretty good day. If that one brings me down, like
Black Mirror, which one was that? Is that? Which one is Black? That's that anthology, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a Twilight Zone with a science fiction edge to it.
Yeah,
it's usually dystopian. I think every episode but one, it's like the ending's really sad, and then one story called San Junipero, it goes well. So
I started watching that zombie one called Black Summer or something like that. That one was
I've seen that. My wife watched that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, man, this stuff's so freaking fun. Like I love Kickstarters, and we could sit and talk about this stuff all day, man. But
yeah, so like I also think I've been posting stuff out on different sites too, not just like Global Comics, but also Webtoons, Tapas, and then smaller ones too. That there's two small ones that I get the most audience engagement from. That's Web Fury is one of them.
Okay.
Or Comic Fury, and the other is Duck Webcomics. They even did a review. So that's why, like, I think sometimes if there's not an exclusivity, it's good to like double up your efforts. And sometimes if you're like a smaller guy, swim in smaller ponds, because like you might be able to get some more interaction, some more engagement, some fans that'll actually like promote your stuff.
Yeah, they'll follow you. Like, and that's what it's about, right? Finding your like. There's this creator that I work with, and ever since I've known him, like he's always pushing his stuff. Like it's always like he's always moving, telling us just like anybody who like a salesman, right? You feel like you see all those old school movies and things where they make fun of the salesman who's always on, right? That's what it's almost like. You have to be that for your brand. You always have to be on, and you always have to be looking for opportunities to sell.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that too is thinking about what you would like. What makes you buy something.
Yeah.
What makes you back a Kickstarter rather than just going to the store to get it.
Exactly. Yeah. We got about 15 minutes left. Let's talk. Can you give us a quick 30-second pitch to your book really quick one more time, and we'll talk a little bit about that before Ben and I start talking about all of our good stuff that we got coming up.
Yeah, for sure. So Jake Sunrise is a werewolf who's also a bounty hunter. And so that doesn't necessarily always come out directly right away in the issue, because I feel like, that's like going a little bit too quick. So it's more about who is Jake Sunrise as a person? Is he a hero? Is he just like a bounty hunter? Does he have a higher code of ethics? And it also kind of asks that about the people that he works with too. And so I think if you like stories that are character driven, but also allow you to kind of imagine a lot of it yourself as you're reading through it and kind of engage with it and have to work a little bit harder, I think it's a good story.
The artwork is gorgeous.
It sure is. Absolutely. That's just such a killer image.
Yeah.
It's awesome stuff.
I was looking through it on Global Comics and I was like, holy crap, this art is freaking amazing.
Yeah, the first cover I ever saw on a comic as a kid was that Wolverine comic or X-Men comic where Wolverine's on the cross. And it's all in those like neon greens and those purples, like not realistic colors at all. And I wanted a feel of that with this cover. And so like this one came out better than I could have possibly imagined.
Yeah. Ben plays around in a sandbox quite like that too, a little bit where it's he's got this noir world, but the colors do not, show the feel like it's a noir world, but the tone, like it's just, I love when artists do that, right? You have the colors and all this stuff, but it's the whole feel of everything that kind of gives you that vibe, and sometimes the colors, or the flip side of the color, I guess, kind of works.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be about realism, right?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. When you look at some of the comics, like the one you described, they had. I think this is something is a little bit of a drawback, that we have all these great tools to color comics. Is you just do the standard thing because it's so easy to do and it looks pretty good. But in doing that, you kind of get caught up in not necessarily thinking things through. And when I was doing Scarlet Twilight, I went and looked at a lot of old Golden Age comics and saw how they used color, because they just didn't have that many colors to use. They had to get pretty creative. And then I think that carries through to the early 90s, right before they switched over to the computers.
Yeah.
You could see really mainstream comics would be, you'd have to really justify those choices now that they'd make with color. But they were just doing that all the time. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but you got a lot of interesting stuff. And I think it's good as an artist to step back and say, well, yeah, I could just do this and give you a good amount of contrast and give you what would be the local color if you're filming something. But you also got to think like, yeah, I could also just make this background red and it would look cool and it would say something.
Right. Right. It would save you so much time at the same time. Yeah, you got to be a little bit economical with that.
Right. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us. You can hang out with us while we talk about all of our stuff and all of our spiel and all that good stuff. But Ben, I know there's one thing that we always talk about at the end of our shows, because we are big, huge advocates. We talked a little bit about it a little bit ago, where we talked about how you, when you receive your book, sometimes they come damaged and about stuff like that. So we are big, huge advocates, and we always push our Gemini mailers over here. So if you guys go to Gemini Mailing Supply, because we are an official Gemini Mailing Supply partner, you guys can head on over to GeminiComicSupply.com. And at checkout, type in Geek Collective 10, and you would get 10% off your whole entire order. Seriously, my buddy Alan sent me a picture of his receipt the other day, and he saved a really good amount on some of the books that you guys are going to be receiving or have already received. And I guarantee it, those things came back looking gorgeous because they were not damaged, because they were protected by a Gemini mailer. So head on over to Gemini Mailing Supply and hit Geek Collective 10 at checkout and get 10% off your whole entire order today. Ben, I know you're freaking, you love using these things. I know you can give me a quick testimonial about one of your horror stories.
Oh, well, I've had a few where stuff just shows up damaged. I'm not a huge collector, so I don't really get too bent out of shape, but I discovered when I started running my first campaign that people really, really care about that stuff. And it became important, obviously, to respond to that. I think that you can never take too much time to carry a project through well at every step. And the last step is the fulfillment. And granted, somebody could still like crush your Gemini mailer, but nobody's going to look at that when it shows up and think like you didn't give a crap and you did the right thing, So it's really just, I would just say it's best practice. It shows that you cared about this thing. And I mean, in my case, these things take way too long to draw to send them out half-assed. So that's what I always say.
Definitely. Yeah. So you guys can save yourselves a good amount of money if you guys hit Geek Collective 10 at checkout. And then we are a full service comic creative studio. What we do here is we give you guys all kinds of really cool creative solutions, everything from concept to shelf. We will help you guys with everything in between. Right now, we are working on a handful of different things. Just head on over to geekcollective.net /crowdfunding, and that will send you there. That will give you a list of all the really cool stuff that we do. We also have an a la carte. So if you guys are looking to kind of, if you don't need some things, if you need more than the other, you can kind of play around and make your own kind of a a la carte menu, and hit us up and we will help you guys out. Right now we did have CJ Hudson. I think he's still there. We're going to be helping him out with one of his really cool stuff, things coming out. We call it, we have, it's one of those books with a really huge long title. So it's going to be fun. We call it Tiny Islands because it's got this long title, but it's going to be really cool. He told me that it's a retelling of a really cool Japanese kind of manga story. So it's something different than what we've done in the past. It's different from what I've seen him do. And it's going to be really, really cool. Look, there's CJ right there. So make sure you guys are checking out CJ Hudson and all over the place. Check, he's on X and all that good stuff, Twitter. And then Kickstarter is where you guys want to make sure you guys are following everybody, because they're going to be doing some really cool stuff there. We also had our buddy who is working with us on this new adventure that we're going to be doing. My buddy Rafael Flores. He is the writer of Mother Wolf and Cubs. We're going to be doing a little bit of something. Do we want to tease that? I don't know if we want to show anything, but we want to tease that what we've been doing. Ben, we're going to be dropping something here.
Do we want to show that image?
It's okay. This is a word. There's only 3 people watching right now, so you 3 people are okay to see what we're. This is a work in progress because I saw a typo in there, so that this is not final. Okay. And I have not shown this to Raphael, so go ahead and toss it up there. This is our preliminary one of our options. This is
bring it up in preview, so it's not in my
work in progress. Geek Collective is going to be working on a really cool Kickstarter that's going to be dropping in February. We're hoping if we can get everybody's deadlines hit, we're hoping to early to mid February. We're going to be actually doing a comic book magazine. This is an independent geek culture magazine. We're going to have collabs with the Geek Network. We're going to have our buddy Canadian Oranges. He always does this really cool stuff on X where he's talking about writing tools. He's going to write something up for us, and our pals over at Oneshi Press, they're going to be answering some questions for us, and where they're going to be talking to us a little bit about what they have planned in 2024. We've got a story from Benjamin, who is going to be introducing one of his newer characters that is coming from the world of Scarlet Twilight, Ace Falcon. And then we're also going to have Mother Wolf and Cubs, which is the cover that you see here is from our friend Raphael, this is the Batman nerd. That is our friend Raphael. This is his work. Cool. This is one of his covers to his book. It's a really cool short story that follows a mother werewolf and her cubs, and this is La Llorona. She is actually taking her children, and she's going to take them to the river. If you guys aren't familiar with the Mexican folklore, the woman had killed her children in a river, and she was cursed to kind of bring other people's children and kind of do the same thing with that. So it's kind of that little folklore twisted thing that we got Mexican culture in there. So we're going to be bringing that story to life here in this magazine. And we also have our friends over at Rabbit Hat Studios. They're going to be working with Bad Bug Media to bring out a brand new story called Beneath the Lighthouse. It's a man. Let me pull up the log line because Alan sent me the log line the other day. And it's a really cool log line. It's super easy, super quick, but it's really cool. Where's it at? I gotta find it because I said, "Dude, you got a log line?" And I was like, "Oh, that's so perfect." I can't find it now.
Is that the one you sent me? Oh yeah, you sent me some pages for that.
I did. I sent you some pages. I think I sent you the log line too. But anyway, it follows a man who is kind of shipwrecked on an island where this lighthouse happens to be, and he doesn't know if he's the only one there. There might be something sinister on the island along with him, and he just might have a big huge bag of money. So check that one out. It's going to be really cool. We're going to have a first handful of pages there where they're going to be launching that one on Kickstarter very soon as well. So Geek Collective, we're gonna be doing this kind of like a quarterly magazine. We might do this again next year. We're going to start it out doing it once a year in February. Maybe if we can do twice a year, if we can sustain this and do it again we're gonna try to do that again. But right now we're planning on doing this really cool thing. It's gonna be a comic book sized magazine, kind of giving us like a tip of the hat to like the the old school comic mags of old. So this is one of the things that we've been planning on doing.
Yeah, I'm excited. This
Yes.
should be a lot of fun.
So we're gonna. So this is all the reason why I'm saying this is a work in progress is because we have been working on a cover as well, and we're gonna kind of pick between the 2 or 3 or whatever we come up with, and maybe we'll only have one. I don't know. Maybe somebody's gonna talk me into doing all of them. Probably me, but maybe we'll see what happens. But this is a work in progress. We're going to be coming up with some really cool stuff. This is called Archetypes. And we're going to be doing a really cool geek culture magazine. So, and we will be looking for people to contribute in the near future. So if you guys are interested in wanting to do something like maybe even throw some ad pages in there for your Kickstarter, we're hoping to do this. We're going to do February, and we're going to do a March, April print, hopefully, depending on how quick the everything comes through. And then we're going to do a distribution immediately after. So make sure you guys are taking care or checking out our us on Kickstarter. Right now it's under my name. It's Joey Galvez. So you just look me up and follow me there. And this one will be kicking off next year. Very cool.
Yeah, exciting times. I'm pumped for this one.
And we got so much else going on. There's the soft, like I said, soft launch for the comics crowdfunder. We got so much other stuff in January, February, March is going to be really, really busy for us helping other Kickstarters and building Kickstarters. We're starting on building another Kickstarter for Brian Hawkins because January 1st he's going to be dropping another Kickstarter. So we're already 10 days behind building this Kickstarter, guys. So make sure you guys are following us and everything going on because man, my head's spinning with all the stuff that's going to be happening.
Yeah, should be a hell of a year. Absolutely,
hell of a year. I think that's about it, man. That's all I got. So make sure you guys are just following us on Kickstarter. Head on over to geekcollective.net/crowdfunding if you guys are interested in our services. Right now, I forgot. Right now we are offering a 40% off our full service services solutions right now. So that's pretty good. Like CJ Hudson took advantage of that. He pre-bought a campaign for 2024. Like he's like not playing. He's like, this is my seat. This is what's happening. You guys like you're gonna do this. This is what we're doing together. So if you guys want to be like CJ, pre-order your 2024 campaign with us. You'll get 40% off. That's seriously, it's just a handful of coins in your pocket. So make sure you guys are checking us out. I don't have anything else, Ben. You got anything, man?
I got one thing. My comic is coming out next year. It's a sequel to Scarlet Twilight. It's called Cobalt Crisis. Basically, it is if let me bring up the preview here. I'll show you the image. It's basically a Crisis on Infinite Earths or Secret Wars that happened in the 1940s, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really epic. There's going to be characters you do not expect to see who show up in this, and a lot of twists and turns. It's as big as it gets. You've got planets smashing together, universes crumbling, and Captain Lancet at the center of it all. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be on Zoop next year. Probably going to do some other stuff with these characters on Kickstarter as well.
And are we going to meet our friend Ace Falcon in this one?
Ace Falcon, yeah. Let's bring him up here. Here's his first page.
So this is going to be what in the magazine here. So we're going to see.
This is what's going to be an archetype.
Oh, it's going to be so cool. So I'm very excited for this one because, man, I've been listen, before I started doing any of this comic book stuff, I was a huge fan of Ben's, and now he's working with me and all this stuff. So I'm excited for this to actually happen, like with us. And Ace Falcon is such a really cool freaking character. I love Captain Lancet and all this Scarlet Twilight world that you've been building. So you guys are in for a treat.
I think so. Should be a lot of fun. All right. Well, I think that does it for us. Been a good. We're coming up right on 59.
Hey,
50
look,
here.
we're on time.
This is like when you pump like exactly $30 of gas or something like that. I'm really excited.
There we go. Hurry, close it out so we're
Oh,
good.
I'm ready. I think we got to do it.
See you guys later.
Well, see you guys later. Dean, thanks for coming on. And have a good week. We'll talk to you all next week.
Awesome.